Hello and welcome back to the Bookshelf Odyssey podcast. My name is Art and I'm your host. And today I have a special guest on. Her name is Jenny Ahmed and she's a science fiction writer. Now I'm really excited to have a sci-fi writer on today. That's one of my favorite genres, and I don't know if I've had a science fiction writer on recently. I should know my own show, I guess, but we had a fantastic conversation. I can't wait to share that with you. In the process of talking to her, we kind of go off tangent and talk about the universe around us and how remarkable it is, and how there are so many questions about what's out there that we still have answers for. And she gives me a little preview of a book or two that she's planning to write and is currently writing that might just have to be on my bookshelf soon. So I don't want to give away more than that. You'll have to wait and watch in the interview. Science fiction was and still is a very significant part of my life. I grew up watching Star Wars and Star Trek, and that really was the gateway into other science fiction, where then I discovered writers like Ray Bradbury and Isaac Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke. One of my favorite modern writers today, her name is Connie Willis. She writes science fiction. She's won both the Hugo and Nebula Awards multiple times, I believe. I don't know the exact stats right now, but one of her best books was one of her earlier ones, and it was called The Doomsday Book. And it tells the story of, it takes place in the future, a pandemic breaks out, there's time travel, the main character gets sent back to the time of the Black Plague, and there's like these dual stories happening of what's in the present for the book, but then also what happens back during the plague to the main character. And it operates perfectly between both being humorous but also being heartfelt. And there's times in the book where I laughed out loud and times in the book where I cried. It might be one of my all-time favorite science fiction novels. Another one I would recommend is Arthur C. Clarke's Rendezvous with Rama. I have tried to read the rest of that series, but I don't know. I haven't made it through yet. They're not as good. Rendezvous with Rama is unique because there's not really, the story is about Earth detects basically a spaceship that appears out near the end of our solar system. So Earth sends a spaceship out to meet it. They explore what's inside, and that's really the story. There's not a lot that happens from like good versus evil kind of standpoint, but it is a story that celebrates exploration and a story that invites you to speculate what could be out there if alien life is real. What will it be like? How will we meet them? What will be our first encounter? It's really just a feat of imaginative inspiration. So a couple of recommendations for you. And of course, check out Jenny's books. We're going to find out more about them in just a minute. So thanks for watching today. I hope you enjoy my conversation with author Jenny Ahmed about her book Utopia and several others. Welcome back to the Bookshelf Odyssey podcast. My guest today is Jenny Ahmed. She's the author of her most recent book is called Utopia, a science fiction story set on Mars, and there are secrets on the planet, and a book full of all the fun that comes with science fiction. Great book. You have a new one out as well, Jenny, that you just told me about today. But before we get to all of that, welcome to the Bookshelf Odyssey podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. So I was excited to get you on board and talk about one of my favorite genres, for sure.
I didn't start out as science fiction. I was doing more dystopian. And then as I was doing that, it was like I was getting drawn back to science fiction. because my life is kind of weird. I do a lot of weird things. Like I'm a nurse practitioner,
Hmm.
but also I have my degree in genetics, and I also have been doing a lot of studies with Caltech for astrobiology, and I'm on a few panels with NASA as well.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so I like to vary my interests. So getting pulled back to science fiction just became very comfortable, like a pair of slippers.
Mm. Now, you said astrobiology.
Yes.
Now, what is that? That's
Astrobiology is a study of life on other planets. Like
okay.
how could life form? Because you're studying the chemical compositions of soil and atmosphere, and
Hmm.
you're trying to determine how life would thrive. For example, even as far, I mean, everything's not always looking for life. It's maintaining life. So if you were going to set up a colony on Mars, things that you would need to know to make your life flourish. And
Hmm.
would you believe that actually the Chinese, when they were up in space by the moon, they actually planted a cotton seed that sprouted in on the moon.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, there's life always wants to thrive.
Yeah. Now that sounds like in from that the old Jurassic Park movie. Life will find a way.
That's right. It will. It will.
Yes.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, this is going to be a really fun conversation, I think. So, uh, I I'm already off of what I wanted to ask first, but that's okay. Um, so you also would then study like what alien life might look like and that
Yes.
kind of thing, and
Yeah.
um, that's got to be a really interesting field. Um, what I can't remember who wrote it, but it was one of the older sci-fi writers like Arthur C. Clarke or Isaac Asimov, I think. But they had speculated that alien life, we might not even recognize it
That's true.
when if we ever came into contact with it, because it would be so different.
That's true. You really have no idea. It could either be very basic or it could be something totally beyond our comprehension.
Yeah, yeah. And this is the exploration of space is something um, I I find really fascinating, and something I think we should do. I know there's a lot of problems on our Earth right now that could use addressing, but for me, it's just something about exploring the unknown that I think is
Yes.
good for us.
And having that also gives us hope.
Right.
Gives us
Um,
a lot of hope.
yeah, I think even about like the moon landing, which we just celebrated one of the anniversaries here just a
Yeah,
couple days ago from the time we recorded this. And I really think the space race kind of kept us out of war with Russia.
that's
We
true.
could
That's
we could
true.
kind of put that aggression towards something a little more positive, I guess. So,
And it's starting off slowly again because the Chinese just went to the last year they went to the dark side of the moon and
hmm.
we haven't done that. So there's a lot of things to, and also more countries are becoming more spacefaring. Like from India, they have their own um, space stations, and everybody's in on the game now,
Hmm.
which is good because that's how we get knowledge.
Right, right. Exactly. And even from what I know of the space program and with what NASA developed, from that comes technologies that have benefited all of us, not just, a rich guy blasting himself out into space for fun. Some of it does have benefits for the human race as a whole and has
That's true.
benefited. Um, but yeah, that's that. My grandfather on my dad's side, he worked for McDonnell Douglas
Oh
back in
wow.
the '60s, and well, that was his job after World War II, and he was an engineer, so he helped design some of the things on the Mercury program, I think it was.
Okay.
I don't know for sure all that he did, but he was involved in it in a very small way. Just was one of
Takes a
the
lot of hands.
yeah, one of the many hands involved. And he just was really, it's kind of where I got my passion for space from. Is it saw it in him, and you know, of course my dad had it, and then now I kind of just passes on, you know, and yeah, it's just really cool.
Even with my little part with NASA, it's like a little part of a drop bucket. It's not even a drop. It's like a little piece of a drop.
Yeah.
But I got my idea to write Utopia with all the talk about with Elon Musk, you know, his putting a colony on Mars and all the one-way trips he's going to make. And I started thinking about that, you know, a one-way trip. What would exactly imply with a one-way trip? So as I was formulating my characters, I wanted to put one guy in there, the captain, he was married. And here he's going on a one-way trip to Mars. And, you know, in the story, his wife was going to be there in 10 years, but obviously that didn't happen. And, you know, one of the things that had to happen in Mars was you needed to grow your population. So I had to think about how I was going to grow my population with only 14 scientists. You know, I only had 14 people to work with. And to get a genetic diversity, so you don't have, you know, the inbreeding in that, you needed to have 10,000 different set of genes. So, you know, we had 14 people, and then we had a whole plethora of containers of embryos because you needed the genetic diversity.
That reminds me, I read, well, I've been reading the Rama series by Arthur C. Clarke, and I think Gentry Lee was the guy's name who helped him write a couple of the other ones. But I think it was in the third book. Some minor spoilers for an old trilogy, but a handful of humans get stuck in the one of the Rama space probes that came by Earth, and so they decide they're going to need to repopulate Earth, but they only have or not Earth, but repopulate human society, but because they're far away from Earth now, and but they only have like 3 or 4 people there, and I'm like, you know, guys, that's not going to work. I'm not a scientist,
but work well at all.
I don't think you're working with much DNA there.
Well, I mean, it worked out for us with Adam and Eve.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Space travel to me is just fascinating, and your book takes it to a next logical step, perhaps. You know, what like you were saying, what could that look like? Let's put pen to paper and dream what this could look like.
Well, you know, in my story, the astronauts were told, okay, you're going to set up a colony and it's going to be like this, such and such and such. But when my astronauts got into space, they're like, wait a minute, we're here by ourselves. What is Earth going to do? What are our bosses going to do? Are they going to come up there and fire us? You know, so
yeah, they
come up with their own version of a society, and they implemented it, and everyone was happy, and it was running smoothly, and then they found this ancient civilization, and they learned so much from that civilization.
Do you think there could have been life on Mars, or is this something you're just really creating just for the sake of the story?
Definitely, there was life on Mars. I chose my landing site. That's how we got Utopia, Utopia Plantis. That's where most of the water is, underground, and that's a very strategic area where there could have been and maybe possibly is life. I think if you find life, you'll probably find it underground because of the radiation, and you know, there's no really any atmosphere, but underground, you know, you have the heat from the magma at the core, and it's very possible, very, very possible.
Yeah, I personally rule nothing out.
And here's a twist. What if we were actually the Martians, and because obviously the planet went through something, what if we were the original people from there? And, you know, interesting thing, our circadian rhythm is actually timed to Mars time, not Earth time.
No, that is interesting. Now I'm going to be up all night now thinking about this.
One thing I can promise you in my books, the science is all real.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, I may take liberty here and there, and I'll tell you at the end of the story where I took my liberty, but
Mm,
right on spot, my research is right on time.
mm,
My book, By Dawn's Early Light, we were victim of nuclear detonation in 9 cities.
hmm
And the research that I did on that all came from Hiroshima, what happened in Hiroshima. I had a couple that was getting married in Trinity Church right by Wall Street. And as the blast was going through them, it took a picture of them on the wall. And that actually happened in
hmm
Hiroshima. You saw pictures of people on the wall. And the book I'm working on now is called Area 291. And oh, you wouldn't believe the research going into that. Never mind Area 51 or Area 52 or even Area 85. It's Area 291 you got to look out for, and that's
hmm
a real place.
Oh, okay. Now I'm really looking forward to that one. That definitely sounds intriguing.
Books fairly quickly, but this one I'm taking my time with because
Sure.
so much research is going into this. It'll blow your mind.
Mm. Well, I'm always up for a good mind blow or mind blown. I don't know.
Area 291, Google it.
Okay, I'll have to do some look into that after this. Yeah.
That's the one you got to watch out for.
Not to get too off course here. Let's look at your writing journey. Let's go ahead and start there.
Okay.
Um, from what I read online, your bio, it said you had been an ICU nurse, and I
Yes.
think it said you were in law for a while, and now
Yep.
you're writing.
Well, I've
Uh,
always been writing, even when I was doing my other things. I've always
mm,
been in writing.
how,
I was an only child growing up on a farm
mhm,
in the South. We had no neighbors. We were like totally isolated. I had 3 horses. We had like 10 dogs and 10 cats, and those were my friends growing up. And I used to write stories and have them do little plays.
mm,
And I just always liked to write. I always liked
mhm.
to write. Growing up, my best friend, her name was Penny. Her father was Piers Anthony, the
Oh,
very
yeah.
famous science fiction writer. He's written over 400 books.
hmm
Um, and we were running around and we were little fairies in his books. So that's where I got my love for science fiction from.
Oh, that's cool.
But
Yeah.
uh,
I've read several of his books. Yeah.
I I worked for a newspaper, one of the largest newspapers in the country. Um, I've had several columns that I used to write, and I just always wanted to do a novel, and I did. I broke my fear of writing big books when I wrote my first book, Tough Mama's Guide to Survival. I've always been into surviving and planning and all this. And I read an article one time where it said 47% of the households in America were led by a woman by herself. And I thought
Mm,
to myself, well, how is this going to work in a disaster scenario? And I wrote that book in mind for the mom, the single mom that, how to survive, because the average person has a 3 day supply of food in their house, and
mm,
grocery stores only have about 3 days, 3 days to a week. And what happens after that?
hmm
So that's where I first started writing. And then I took a fiction course with James Patterson. And that's when I started diving in deeper and doing my novels. And, it was a good thing broke my leg. I broke my knee. And
mm.
it's been a very slow recovery. So I'm always at my desk writing 24/7.
Yeah. Now, were you an avid reader as a kid?
Always. I
Yeah.
still am. I
And you
still
still are
am.
good. Yeah.
And I like to read things different than what I write, with the exception of Jacqueline Drugga. I like Drugga rather. I like her writing. I read her a lot. Um, and then John Irving, when I need to clear my head, a good old comedy really works well. And my favorite book of all favorite books is The Prayer for Owen Meany. That is an incredible book.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, John Irving, his big book was The Cider House Rules.
Okay, sure.
And that was very good. But he wrote The Hotel New Hampshire. Oh, God, that is so funny, that book. And then he wrote another one. I'm trying to remember the name. It was like Set the Animals Free. I'm butchering the title. That's where he liberates all the animals in a zoo in France. And the lions are going around killing everybody. It's just funny, though. His writing is very funny. He's got a very dry sense of humor. But, The Prayer to Owen Meany, I just laughed and laughed. I cried through that book. It was so good.
Excellent. Well, I always like getting book recommendations from anyone who'd care to give me one. So
yeah, John Irving, he's a good one. When I need to clear my mind, I read a John Irving book. And that Prayer for Owen Meany, I must have read that 4 or 5 times, and I still read it.
I love books that can withstand multiple readings. I am a rereader for sure. My favorite writers, well, some of them are Ray Bradbury. I've read just about everything he's written multiple times. He had a big influence on me as a teenager. That's when I first found him, I think many kids do. Charles Dickens, I like classics. So
now, see, that's who John Irving always writes in a Dickens style.
Okay. I think I would definitely like him then.
And his characters are just like something you would find in a Charles Dickens novel. Like, for example, in The Cider House Rules, the little boy who becomes an abortionist, he's just like one of Dickens' characters. He was an orphan growing up on the street. So yeah, I like Charles a lot. Charles Dickens.
Yeah, Douglas Adams, comic sci-fi writer. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Those books just helped me through a very rough time as a teenager, and helped me to laugh. That's
when I read that book too, when I was a teenager.
Okay. Yeah, good. Yeah. Just his absurd humor and outlook at life. I laughed when I needed to laugh, and that's one of the reasons I love stories. They help you in times like that where
you can see a lot and you learn a lot of lessons. Yeah. And I tried to put some of those lessons in Utopia, where I broke down the civilization into, how they learned, how they lived, I broke it down, and I didn't want it to be redundant, but I wanted people to learn a lesson from it, that people are different all over the world, and it would be terrible if we were all the same. And it's different because we can learn from people. We can learn from each other. I always think about the Tower of Babel in the Old Testament, how, we were smited and scattered and changed our language and went off into different parts of the world. And I think about that all the time, because it's like, if we were all the same, it wouldn't be any fun. Life would be very boring if we all had the same jobs and wore the same clothes and had the same experience. That wouldn't be life. So I think this is a good way to get to know people and learn their differences. Lord knows my life is like that. I'm Jewish and my husband's Muslim.
Oh, wow. Very, very different.
I have to tell you, we've never had an argument on religion. Never. Not even once.
Well, all right.
We just don't talk about who was on the altar, because we believe one thing and he believes another. So we just don't even open that door.
Right.
But other than that, we're cool.
Right. Yeah. It's like when my dad remarried. I was in college at the time, and I got to go home and visit him and my new stepmom over Christmas break, and he told me, just know we don't talk about religion, politics, or anything like that. I'm like, okay. He's like, otherwise we'll have a happy visit. I'm like, okay, got it.
Now, politics was a powder keg for a number of years, but
Mm.
now I've kind of got them onto my side of the fence, so politics is okay to talk about now.
Okay, good. It's yeah. My wife and I both are very similar in our tastes and interests, and it's just so good to have someone you can vent to or talk to or even question like, is this I'm seeing this? Do you see this? Or just get a second opinion.
Oh,
And
my husband and I, we are polar opposites.
okay.
In everything. We like different food. We like different music.
Hmm.
I like a soft mattress. He likes a hard mattress. I have to keep the light on. He has to keep the light off. I'm up all night. He sleeps all day. I mean, it is like we're totally opposite. I don't know how we got married, but yeah, we're totally opposite.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There are a few things we're pretty different on, and I'll just say this: if she thinks I did something or said something that's not right, or that she thinks differently, she'll let me know. She's not afraid to say, hey, have you really thought this through? Or why would you say that? Or why would you think that? But I appreciate that. It like challenges my thinking, and it's easy just to repeat things you've heard said without really thinking about it.
Sure.
And that's kind of the culture I grew up in was, dad said it or the pastor said it. Therefore it's right. It's like, okay, well, think about it though. Why would you say that? Why would you believe this? Or what is, I don't know. It's good. It's good.
Mm-hmm.
Keeps things,
On your toes.
keeps you on your toes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And she knows me well enough. She knows, how to bring those things up without, causing an actual argument, in anger. We've never really been to that point yet, but she knows how to deal with me, I guess.
My husband's very calming. He's very, very calm.
Yeah.
I'm the vocal one in the family. If I see something wrong, oh my goodness, I'll be on a tirade. I'll be on my soapbox. You'll never hear me be quiet. And he's just so calm, just like a little duck floating around in the water. He's just going with everything. It doesn't matter. He's just so calm. And that's not me. I'm very high strung.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My wife will, if she gets passionate about something or
That's
sees,
the word I was looking for.
see something, some kind of injustice or something happening. She will get on her soapbox and.
That reminds me of something that happened when COVID hit. There was, my husband's from Pakistan, and he knows all the politicians and the president and all the people over there. And there was an article floating around that there was some medical students that were stranded in Wuhan, and the embassy, the Pakistani government would not allow them to come back to Pakistan because they were exposed to, they were from Wuhan, so they were afraid that they would bring COVID into Pakistan. And they were like, listen, we just need food. Just send us food. We'll stay here. We batten down our hatches. We just have no food. We have babies here. We have no formula. We have no diapers. And I was so mad because my husband knows all these people. And the Minister of Health, put this thing out that, they need to stay where they're at and be martyrs and all this other stuff. And let me tell you, I got in touch with the CNN bureau chief out that way, and we put a lot of political pressure, and it was about 5 days later all those people were on a plane back to Pakistan. I was so mad that they were just going to leave their citizens out there in dire straits. I mean, if you're not going to fly them home, at least feed them, get supplies to them somehow. But I got them back to Pakistan. I helped do that. I was so mad.
Oh, great. Oh, sometimes I think our words, we can accomplish a lot with our words, maybe more than we realize. And just that is an example of it.
We have our I'll call it the Jewish connection, like the Underground Railroad, and that's the Chabad rabbis. you ever want to do something, you talk to a Chabad rabbi where something needs to be done. And believe it or not, there's Chabad out in that area. And I was in touch with the Chabad, and Israel was going to bring them to, Israel was going to take them in if Pakistan didn't take them. And I think that's ultimately what pressured them to bring them back, is because Israel said, come on, we'll take you. And they're like, whoa, wait a minute, we'll get our people back. And that's when they went back home.
Well, it sounds like you've just had an interesting life. Ever thought about writing a biography or autobiography or something?
I'm going to tell you something. I've always been kind of eccentric. I like to walk to the beat of my own drum, If people always are pigeonholed into different things, I have my own beliefs, and I'm comfortable with them. And like I said, I walk to the beat of my own drum. But when COVID happened, I was on the COVID task force here in New York City with the health department, Department of Health, I should say. And my husband's like, oh, you're going to bring COVID home. We're all going to get sick. We're all going to die. I got COVID from my husband. He was at his best friend's. He owns a restaurant, and they have like a little banquet thing down in the basement. And the chef was preparing this big dinner for them, and the chef was sick. And it was April 1st. My husband called me, April Fool's Day. He's like, me and Shaw have COVID. And I didn't believe it. I thought, okay, you got me, April Fool's. But he got it. And 2 days later, I had it. And I almost died. Died. When the ambulance came for me, before I was hospitalized, my oximetry was 58%. And they're like, we got to get her to the hospital right away. We don't even know if she's going to make it. And while I was in the hospital, I made a bucket list. And I have very eccentric things on that bucket list. And I tell you, I have so many of them scratched off. Like, one of the things I wanted to do was learn how to play the violin. And I bought a violin, and I took my lessons on Zoom, and I learned to play the violin. And this is funny. I wanted to learn fencing. And I started taking fencing classes. Who knew in Staten Island? And they have one of the best fencing groups in the country, Olympic fencers. And so I got involved in that. And I was very sick for a long time. I was home with oxygen, and it was very bad. And that's what kind of got me over the hump, was my eccentric bucket list. That's what got me through it. Weird things.
Wow.
And somehow science fiction wasn't on the list, but that's where I ended up.
And that's where you are today. But that's really interesting. Just how, another thing from COVID, I got this list of things I want to do, and giving you hope to get through that, sounds like. So let's see. Well, we've covered a wide range of topics already here. I want to go back to your book, Utopia, for a minute. You had a book trailer you sent along as well, almost like it was a movie. That was really cool. Where did that come from? That idea, or do you have a company that does that?
It's a funny thing. I'm just doing a real change. There's a company in England that did my book trailer. I've been with them for, a decade now. They did my book trailer for Tough Mama's Guide to Survival. That one's scary. And they're really good. But, I just hired an assistant who's absolutely incredible. She's taken my social media and just blew it up. And she knows how to do the trailers. And she did the trailer for... She did another trailer. She did the trailer that I sent you was from my people in England, but she did another one that was very good. And she's working on the one for Awake right now. She'll have it done this week. And she's really good. She's been putting my videos on TikTok and Instagram. Instagram has blown up. I mean, I started with 0 followers, and now by the time we get off, I'll probably be about 800. So,
Nice.
she's really, posting multiple times, and she's doing a great job. One thing I can say as far as my writing style, I've been blessed where I don't get writer's block.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest daughter, she's like, Mom, you're a functional ADD person. And I'm like, you could come to me, and if you just gave me one little scrap of paper and just say, can you just do this one thing for me? I tell you, hell would freeze over before it gets done. Yeah. But if you come to me with all these files and plop on my desk, it's got to be done tonight, it'll all get done. And what I do is I'm so embarrassed. I couldn't even show people my desk. I have 3 desks in my office, and it's like all like, but I could tell you what every scrap of paper is. So what I do is I have this pile, this pile, this pile, and this pile, and I write my books 2 at a time, maybe 3, but usually 2. And I'll start here. And when I get to what I would define as a pause, I switch gears and I go to this topic, and then I'll be working on that. And then when I come to a pause, I go on to the next thing and then back to the first and skip around, and it all gets done. Now, that's how I work.
Now you've just kind of described how I read. I'll usually have 3 or 4 books going, and I'll read one for a little while and put it aside. I'm like, okay, that's a good place to stop. And I want to see what's happening in this book. And I'll just kind of jump from book to book. And I can keep it all straight in my head for the most part. I don't know. Some people, I can barely read one, but I don't know. Maybe that's my problem there.
When I write books, that's how I write. And I tell you, I've never had writer's block. I call it a pause.
Sure. And you can go work on something else then.
That's what I do, and it works. Yeah. It works for me.
Yeah, I've heard that there's a lot that happens in our brain that sometimes we're not even aware of. Like, it can work on a problem that you're stuck on just in the back of your mind, and you don't realize it until you get a solution, and it's like, oh, okay, I got it.
Sleep 3 o'clock in the morning, an idea hits you, and you got to get up and you got to put it on paper before you forget.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to writing, are you a plotter, or do you, as they call it, a pantser? Do you write by the seat of your pants?
Actually, like I said, I'm very weird. I do an outline. I start with an outline, and I never follow the outline, but I have an outline. I have an idea of what I want. In chapter 1, I want this. Chapter 3, I want this to happen. But I'll write by scenes. And I want, for example, in area 291, my main character is in a Pisces 4 submersible right in front of the area 291, and she's going into this base. And I'm writing that scene, but I may not have gotten chapter 3 done. And here I am working on, whatever chapter that is, 10 or 12. And I bounce around. And after I get my big scenes, or when I get to a point where things make sense, that's when I'll weave my scene into the story. I like to get my scenes because I'm really excited. And when I start a new book, I can't write the first word until my cover's done. I do my covers myself. I have my little artist. She'll do the text. I can't do the text, but I can do the pictures. And I get excited about my cover, and that's when, writing comes right out of me naturally. But if I don't have my cover and I can't visualize it, I can't even get the dedication page done.
Now, when I had different school projects and writing projects and things, I always just had brain freeze until I got a title. And once I had a title, then I can write. I don't know what it's about, but I have to have my title.
I like to have the title, but I got to have the cover.
Yeah, interesting.
If I don't have that cover, and usually a title will pop in my head when I least expect it, and then I go with it. Because 219 was giving me, or 291 rather, was giving me a problem. Like, what am I going to call this book? Because I got Spirals that I'm working on, and that's the continuation from Awake. And that cover is incredible. That's a beautiful cover. I am so excited about that book because that cover is incredible. And
I've said before, I'm a sucker for a good cover.
well, that's the only industry or the only part of life where you can judge a book by its cover.
Right. Although they tell you not to, but I'm like, I mean, come on, look at this cover. It's amazing.
Oh, some of them are so. I got a funny cover story for you.
Uh-huh.
When I was writing Seismic Eruptions, that's where Yellowstone blew up.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't come up with an idea for a cover. I couldn't. And I broke one of my own rules and was hiring this cover designer that advertises with Balkers. So I figured if they're affiliated with Balkers, they got to be pretty good. And oh my Lord, he sends me the proof. I can send it to you so you know I'm not lying. It's a cage full of black people with lava coming at them. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. If I put that on Amazon, I would have been blacklisted before I even hit the submit button. And he's like, oh, well, I'll change it so you like it. And the next one came, the lava was under their feet, and they're still in the cage. And this time they don't have shorts on.
Oh, no.
So they gave me my money back. I'm like, I can't use this. You're trying to get me blackballed before I even got off the ground.
Right. I'm going to get canceled here.
I saved that picture in that email just so I could show people that this is what's out there. And wow. I tell you, I never used another one again. Never.
Yeah.
If I can be creative to write the story, I should be creative enough to do the cover. That's my thought. I might be wrong, but my covers, I think I do pretty good covers. I like to do something that's really going to grab you. Now, sure. I have my whole marketing plan for Area 291 already. Forget Area 51, forget Area 52, worry about Area 291.
I don't know. There's something about that title that really just is very mysterious. So yes. I'm already looking forward to that just based on the title.
I'll send you the manuscript when it's done.
Oh, well, thank you. I also like to ask about any writing tips that you might have picked up along the way. Is there something that you wish you would have learned or known when you were younger, or advice you would pass on to new writers? Yes.
Don't listen to anyone. Listen to yourself.
Yeah.
Because everyone writes differently. Everyone thinks differently. You can't take, for example, I am a science fiction genre. I can't tell you as an autobiographer, here's some writing tips, because they may not work for you.
Mm-hmm.
What you need to do is you need to listen to yourself. You need to discover how you work. You need to examine yourself. So that would be my tip. Learn your own style. Your own styles, you got to have your own style. You can't mimic, this style or this style, because it won't look natural. You need to learn your own style. And that's how it is. It may be totally oddball different like mine. I might start at the end and work my way back. It's okay, because it works for me. It may not work for, somebody else or Stephen King or any of those, but it works for me. That's like Patterson, when I was in his class, he was telling me that, he handwrites his manuscripts and he has his secretary, type them up, and that works for him because maybe it slows him down a little bit and he can think better and, use that creative energy elsewhere. So that's what I would tell a person. Learn yourself, learn your style, and work on that style. If you work on your style, your style, you're going to be successful because you're doing what only comes natural.
And I think
make sure you have a good hook in the first 3 pages of your book, because then your reader will read.
Yeah, a lot of people make a decision whether to read or not within those first few pages, from what I've read.
3 pages.
Yeah,
that's from James Patterson. 3 pages.
Okay, well, he's obviously had some success. He's a whole industry on his now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a very good teacher, by the way.
Oh, yeah. I see. I thought I saw some commercials with him with like Masterworks, I think it's called,
Yeah.
teaching writing, and I thought it sounded really interesting. He's got to have just such a creative mind to come up with all these books. He just turns out. I know nowadays he's writing with a lot of ghost. Well, I don't know if they're ghost writers, but
Well,
he's co-writing.
he likes to work with new writers as well.
Yeah.
He would take a student from each class that he did, and then however else he met new writers. But he works a
Hmm.
lot with new writers.
Hmm.
Basically, one of the gists that I got out of his class is say you got your scene. Maybe it's the mom having breakfast, with her kid getting ready for school. And you think, what is the most extreme thing I can introduce in this scene? Maybe she butchered the father and he's in the hall laying on the floor, whatever that is,
Hmm.
that's what you write.
Mm.
And then you think, okay, what's the next step from there? Maybe the kid isn't hers and, she's driving out of town or whatever. That's where your action comes from. When you
Hmm.
think about your writing, think about the most extreme thing that you could possibly think of and then put it down in paper
Hmm.
and make it part of your scene.
Well, I was thinking about some of my favorite mysteries, and I can see that, those inciting incident moments, where, well, I didn't expect that to happen, and we're off and running. There have been a few books I've kind of given up on reading. It just wasn't capturing me, and
Yeah,
some
that
of some of those.
happened.
Yeah, some of those people will say, "Oh, you got to give it, 50 pages or
Like
100
a
pages."
movie.
Right.
Watch it halfway and
It's like, okay, I only have a limited amount of time. And unless I really trust the person giving that recommendation, I'm more than likely to say, not now. Maybe later I'll try it. But I've gotten to where I can usually tell if I'm going to like a book or not
yeah.
even within the first couple of pages.
Even
If
if
you,
you see something with a really good cover, you're just
yeah,
like, oh my God, I got to read this.
right, yeah, yeah. And I do try to give them more than just a couple pages usually, but depending on the genre, really. Well, for instance, I just read was it Grady Hendrix's My Best Friend's Exorcist, I think it was called. Not a book I usually read, but a lot of people were talking about it. It sounded kind of interesting. I thought I'd read it. It really does take a while to get going, but he somehow made the writing very compelling from the beginning, and you were invested in this young lady and her friendship with this other teenage girl and their lives. I don't know, I knew spooky things probably would happen, but that didn't even happen till much later in the book.
Uh-huh.
Um, and then you realize that some of it was like the way he was writing. You're not sure, is this really case of demon possession, or does she just have is she bipolar or what, or schizophrenic?
Yeah, yeah.
You don't know until you get about 3/4 of the way through the book. Anyway, random book there, but so just to say all that to say, I do sometimes give a book longer if the action's not right off on the first page, but I think I'm more drawn to characters than I am
Mhm.
even to plot. And if the character right off the bat for me, if it's not somebody I vibe with, it can be a big
Right.
turnoff in a book. Yeah.
I like fat books. I'm not opposed to every book being like War and Peace. I like big fat books, and that's one of
Mm-hmm.
the things I respect about Stephen King is he writes fat books.
Mm-hmm.
I ideally like to keep my books around 85,000 words. Sometimes I'll come in at 65, but I try to keep it at 85 because I want to delve into my characters as much as possible, or at least have them express themselves so much in a way that the reader would know, they have a good feel of what my character would do. So I like the good character developments like you as well.
Yeah. There are some writers where, like Ray Bradbury is one. He would write stories that, short stories, there'd be scary stories or the macabre kind of thing, or aliens or whatever. But then he'd also write these stories of, a young boy growing up in Illinois, in a small rural town of Illinois. And I love those too. Sometimes not much happens in those, but it's just the way he writes, his characterization of the people, it's just makes it compelling. And I want to read. I want to spend time in his world,
Sometimes a writer has to develop the characters on the cuff, really quickly. Like when I was doing Awake, that was the case. I had 4 people. I had a Orthodox Jewish woman. I had a Muslim, Arab Muslim. I had a Black Muslim from Africa, and then I had a Chinese man. And they all woke up in this forest. They were naked. They had no idea who they were. They couldn't remember their names, nothing. So there was no base to write about the characters until later. So they were discovering who they were as the book was developing. That was a fun book to write. That was a lot of fun.
Right. Now, Awake, that's your newest book that's out.
That just came out 2 days ago. Yeah, okay. 2 days ago.
So that'd be July 20th. I'm not actually sure when this episode will go out. It'll be a little while yet, but if that's all right. But
by then Spirals will be done.
Okay, well, great.
And maybe Area 291 will be done by then too.
Okay, wow. You're giving James Patterson a run for his money now.
Well, I've become friends with a lot of writers, and one of my favorite writers that I read, Jacqueline Druga, I read her before I even started really writing, my novels. And her and I connected, and we're on Facebook together, and I've learned a lot of things from her. And she's written 123 books. I tried counting them, and I think I counted 122, and she's like, no, it's 123. So that's what really makes you a good writer, is when you have a good catalog. And, the thing is, people sell themselves short. They write a book and they get it published, and they think, oh, I'm an author now, and, waiting for the money to come in so they can buy their sailboat and that. Doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. Even with 10 books, I'm starting to get there. And, I have 2 more coming out, and, I'm just got ideas. But when I start to think of an idea for a book, I usually get bam. Like Awake, for example, I was reading a Reddit post. They were talking about discrimination, and I forgot how it was, if they were locked in a room, and I thought, bam, the idea for Awake just hit me. Here they are, all different races and ethnic backgrounds, and they're here on this, wherever it is. They're naked and they don't know anything. They don't even know their own name. And that was great because there was no discrimination. There was, they were working in unison, trying to solve their problem without giving stuff away. So yeah, that hit within 10 minutes. I had my outline done. I had my cover done. That was so quick. And that's how I get my ideas for my books. It may be an article I read or something I see, or, and it comes quick, comes hard.
I could see why, as you say, you don't often struggle with like writer's block if you're just constantly observing around you and letting, I guess, like letting your experiences kind of feed your creativity.
Well, when you say writer's block, you're automatically limiting yourself. You're like, oh, okay, I can't think of anything else. No, call it a pause. Get up, do something else, start another book. And then when you get a pause, then you go back to where you were. You come up with ideas. I have other problems, but not writer's block.
Yeah, don't we all? Yeah. Well, Jenny, it's been so fun chatting with you. You're one of those guests I feel like I could just talk to for hours and hours. So I love that. So again, your book Utopia is relatively new. It's out, and then Awake just came out. You've got a few more coming down the pipe, and I'll be sure to link some of those in our show notes and everything. Now, do you have a website or a newsletter or anything you want to promote?
JennyAhmed.com, and your email and everything's safe. Nothing gets marketed or given out. I don't clutter your mailbox. You get maybe every quarter, a new newsletter, and I like to give swag away too to my readers.
All right. Love some good swag. So
and you just sign up on my website.
All right.
Which I did by myself too.
Oh, okay. You're really doing it all, aren't you?
Oh, I got help now, so it's okay.
Good. As somebody who does a lot of the work myself too, I appreciate the work that goes into. I like to
say I'm a department of one, but now I'm a department of two. Joycey, she does great on the social media, and so yeah, I'm a department of two now. But for years I was a department of one.
So you are on, as far as social medias go, you're on Instagram and Facebook?
Yep, TikTok, all of them.
Okay. Yeah, I'll make sure those are linked in the show notes as well, so people can find them, and can connect some, hopefully some new readers, send them your way.
Promise I'll keep you up at night.
Oh, perfect. I love a book that keeps me up at night.
On closing, I got to tell you a funny story.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, my mom was a social worker, and we used to have an emergency shelter home for kids that were abused and stuff. And the Amityville Horror had just come out, and I had to wait for my mom to finish reading it. And I finally got it, and I couldn't go to sleep. I was up to the part where the woman was levitating in bed, and I heard a noise, and I put my book down. I almost had a heart attack. One of the little kids that we had got into my mother's makeup and had makeup smear all over her face, and she's standing right in front of my book. So when I put my book down, I see this monstrosity. Almost gave me a heart attack.
That's awesome. Yeah, be careful what you read and when you read, I guess.
I know. I didn't sleep for a while after that.
I guess not, yeah.
I still think about that.
Yeah.
Well, it's great to meet you.
You too. Yeah, definitely. Thanks for coming on. Really interesting discussion. I can't wait to read more of your books and recommend them to folks. I think they were a fun ride. So,
Thank you very much.
You take care, and best of luck in the future.
Thanks.
All right. Wasn't that just a blast? So tonight, your homework assignment is to go outside, look up into the night sky, consider the stars, consider the moon. Imagine what would it be like to live there, to walk there, to explore. I know there are so many problems on Earth today. And do we need another bored billionaire launching himself out into space? Well, probably not. But let's not lose that sense of wonder and that sense of exploration. I think that is a healthy way to help society progress, is by exploring the world around us. So I love when I hear of new discoveries, new things that they're finding out about the universe. It's so incredibly fascinating. Makes you wonder what else is out there. Well, before the mothership beams me up, I do want to point you to a couple of links in my show notes. You can find Jenny's books posted there, her website, social media information, all that. And all the books we've mentioned are listed down below. Also, if you're able to help support the podcast in a financial way, there are links for that as well, if you so choose. We are getting close to 1,000 subscribers on my channel. So if you haven't yet subscribed, I'd love to have you on board. Next week, my guest will be Trisha Thacker. She has written the Ablaze series. We have another wonderful conversation. And we actually kind of get sidetracked right at the beginning talking about Doctor Who. So you won't want to miss that if you're a Doctor Who fan. I'm always excited to meet up with another fan. So but she has a great series of books you'll want to check out if you like fantasy. That'll be it for today. As always, thank you for watching. And until next time, happy reading and take care.